So now I'm preparing to do the trim pieces, such as the handles, the accent pieces on the bumper, and the running strip which runs along the top of the car. So originally on the brown car they were in this grey elastic wrap, which you can see here, and my original plan was to do them in this copper. You can't quite see it, it's like a metallic pearl. This will waste a bit, but there. So you can see this kind of metallic finish, right? And I thought that that would look quite good against the finished blue. So this is the finished blue of the car. It's like that, and you can see the kind of the copper colour against it. It's kind of like a classic combo. But when I was talking to someone, and I mentioned that now I'm moving on to the trim pieces, then he said straight away, what colour are you going to do them? White? And then the more I've been thinking about that over the last few days, the more I like the idea. So this is where I masked off for the rear light, and you can see the white and the blue looks quite smart. I like it. And doing it white also has some advantages, because when you open the doors, just do this one here, you can still see, once I put the car back together, the white inside the body. So, you know, it might work. If I can show this side, there you go, you'll still be seeing this white part. So, you know, it might tie it together as one scheme. So that's all good. I've got some white Plasti-Dip. I've got a gallon of the unmixed. So mixed up, I could make 2 gallons of the stuff, which is plenty. I probably wouldn't need more than maybe half a gallon max, you know. But it's pointless painting white on top of the grey when the original colour was white underneath. I just need, you know, loads and loads of coats of the stuff. So I started peeling this stuff off. I mean, that's the whole point of this stuff, is that you can peel it off, you know, go back to the original colour. So let's peel this off, right? But then once I peel it off, you can see the original pieces, if I can get it to focus on this, maybe this way. You see how scuffed and dirty they are? Which is one of the reasons I wanted to paint it in the first place. So I can't use it in this form. Also, this is a little bit glossy, whereas the rest of the car is kind of like satin eggshell. So I don't like this finish anyway. I'd want a more satin finish. Here's another handle, which I've already cleaned up. And if I can focus on this one, you can see just how bad it is. And look at all these finger marks. That's fingernails, you know, grabbing the door like that. I don't know why people have to do that. They seem to want to do it. I don't know. And you can maybe make out in this light how stained this piece is. So that's not leftover Plasti-Dip. I got it all off with thinner. This is actually just the original stained. It's kind of like it's not even white anymore. It's like a yellowy colour. I don't know if it's coming out in this light. Anyway, so spraying these in white Plasti-Dip, white on white, should get a nice bright white. And then I thought, well, because I've got all this scuffing and, you know, all these finger marks and stuff, that I'll prime it. So I've got just basic white primer here. Don't trust the cap. Its primer will come out in kind of like an eggshell satin finish, right? But then I realised if I'm going to prime these in white, then I probably don't have to dip them at all, because they'll already be the right finish, they'll already be bright white. Certainly it'll be harder wearing than the Plasti-Dip, so I've got no worries about people's fingers scratching it off, which was always a worry. And I was always a bit stressed about that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to prime these pieces, and then I might not even have to dip them at all, which is great. I won't have to open a whole brand new tin. I won't have to dirty the equipment and clean it all up again. And spraying with rattle cans is very easy. You know, I can do it late at night in the garage after work and not make noise, which is another advantage. So I'll give it a go. Now the whole point of this stuff is that, you know, you can peel it off and go back, right? But realistically, I'm never ever going to want to go back, you know, all the way to this, right? So there's no harm in priming it anyway. I'm not going to lose anything by priming it, and if it's good enough I can just stop there. If it's not quite good enough, then I can go ahead and dip over it. This is the trim that runs along the top of the car. This is a piece of it, and if I can make it focus on here, you can see, there we go. So this is not staining from the Plasti-Wrap, or this is actually just how discoloured and mottled it was. I can't get the focus on it. Let me see. And this is why I needed to spray it in the first place. You know, because there's a kind of like a glossy part, and then you can see patches where over the years, you know, it took a bit of a beating. I mean, this car, I've got a big garage. Most people don't. It's 2.06 centimeters tall, which is 7 foot tall, right? So, I mean, most people don't have a garage. They have like a carport, and I see very few which you could park, you know, a 7 foot car under. So it's been outdoors for what, 19 years, and that's where all these parts took a beating. So I'll give it a go, and hopefully this will be enough, and it will make things a lot easier for me. I can work through the night in here cleaning up these parts and spraying them with rattle cans without making a noise. Normally I have to wait for the weekend because the spray equipment makes a lot of noise. There's no way I could do it late at night. The neighbours would complain too much. So that's another advantage. So I'll give it a go and then update again in a minute. Okay, so this is the first trim piece I'll try. It's already nice and clean. It's just an air duster to get rid of any last surface dust. And usually when you're spraying out of a rattle can, you should spray sideways. You know, the can should be this way, not this way. But it's okay, it's a small bit. And the can is new, so I think I'll get away with it. Okay, so that's the first coat. It's already looking a lot better, as you can see. So I'll let that dry and then give it another coat. Maybe inside the handle, I'll pull it back and see how it comes out. Okay, so the first test piece is nice and dry. You can see it looks nice and clean now, especially if we compare it to an unfinished one. You can see all the finger marks and scratches and defects in this one. And here's this one compared side by side. So already I'm very pleased with this. It's looking really good. And you can also see that this one, the old one, still has a little bit of its gloss finish, and this one just has the primer finish. It's a very satin, matte, eggshell type of finish, which I much prefer. But you can't just leave primer as your top coat. It will break down pretty quickly, especially once it's out in the UV. Maybe you'll have weeks at best, and then it'll go to just all chalky and come off and dusty. So it needs a clear coat on top, but I don't want a glossy clear coat, which will, you know, end up something like this. So I found this stuff. This is a frosted clear coat, I'm not exactly sure how frosted it's going to be. Maybe you can see in the picture their demo pieces. So I'll spray it with this, and once it's dry we'll see how it comes out. There. So you can see I was quite generous with the volume of clear coat, because I want it to be protected. Right now it'll look a bit glossy while it's wet, so hopefully when it dries it'll have a bit more of a frosted finish. Okay, so let's leave it to dry and then come back in about maybe 10-15 minutes. It should be touch dry by then. So just an update on the frosted clear coat. You can see this part here on the top of the handle, which are touch dry already, and they have this kind of soft satin finish. You can see the way the light catches it. So it's coming out really, really well. I'm very pleased with this stuff. In this well, and in this well here, where you can see it a bit more shiny, that's because it's not 100% dry yet. So I'm really happy with the way these are coming out. They look like new. And I'm not going to bother kind of wedging it open and spraying deep inside this handle. I can do it from behind like this. So you can see in there it's still not great, but you'll never see that part, and it's just not worth the hassle, seeing as it's almost white anyway. So these are looking like new again. They're looking really good. Very pleased with these. So I'm going to go ahead and paint all of the trim pieces with the just plain white primer and then the frosted clear coat, and I'll do the whole accent piece on the front bumper in the same finish as well, because I'm never going to want to go back to that grey, and I can't even, because it's already been repaired in so many places. So very pleased.